5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to the Rideshare Zone, where every ride matters. And now, here is your host, Shawn, the Colorado Rideshare Guy.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode number 16 of the Rideshare Zone. Holy smoke, just still cruising along here. I can't believe we're already 16 episodes in. Feels like it was 16 weeks ago. Okay, not even that long, actually, but that's how long it was. So, anyway, that's apparently my producer says I need to turn my mic up. What does everybody else think? Are we good? Or do we need some audio adjustments here? While we're waiting to hear some feedback from everybody else, let's look at the chat. We got Rideshare Rodeo Steve is in. We got Twin Pines. Bubba Sue, what is going on? Awesome Amy, welcome in. And Steve says, hey to everybody. Daniel, what's up, my man? How you doing, brother? Thank you for the Waymo intel today. Steve, I got some updates on where the Waymo docking station is in Denver. So we can talk about that offline. But anyway, Awesome Amy says everything sounds good. We got everybody caught up in the chat. And Sue says turn it up. All right, guys. Well, let's see what we got to do here. We'll go do some additional audio. Up. Wonder if it's because it's... How are we doing now with that? Is everybody good with that? All right. Well, we're gonna have to go with that anyway because let's see what we got here. How about that for everybody? Is that doing everybody any better? Holy smoke, I got a whole lot I'm going to have to trim on the front end of this for the podcast, but there we are since my... All right, we're going to go with that and roll because I'd rather be a little soft than a little hot with it, and we'll just see where everything goes. So, all right. Let's get this thing kicked off, guys. Appreciate everyone coming in. Steve says it's perfect. Rick, what is up, brother? We got a few more people come in while we're sitting here messing around with the audio here. So, guess it was worth the wait for do a couple adjustments. Appreciate everyone coming in. And yeah, we're at episode 16. It's not going to be too long till we're at episode 21, which, by the way, like you guys, if you want to either hit me up, for those of you that are on Steve's Discord group, send me a message about what kind of questions you'd like to ask Steve. If you had a question to ask him, anything in the world, doesn't even have to be gig related. Probably even better that it's not gig related. So Steve is going to be on my 21st episode. And so let's start coming in with some good questions and start thinking about what we want to do. And let's find out what makes Rideshare Rodeo Steve tick. And he's been doing this since COVID, so I'm sure he's got a lot of good experiences to talk about with his venture of building his podcast. So it's going to be a little different. We will talk about gig work and everything, but we do plenty of that on Thursdays together. So just want this to be a little different and get to know one of the other live streamers and podcasters. So it'll be a lot of fun with that one. So anyway, all right, let's get this thing kicked off with our favorite subject, Waymo. All right, well, you know, as we know, it's not always... It's always easy to find something, but it's not always easy to figure out what Waymo subject you want to bring up. And we've had a lot of things going on. We've had the whole weather thing, and we'll go into that a little bit, maybe. But first they go and drown themselves, and then they won't get near a puddle. Then Waymo says it's fixed, so we'll see what happens now that we got some monsoons coming in. We'll see if it ends up down in the Austin area, where they've got a lot of Waymos running down there and have a Waymo problems, because I think people down there are really keeping their eye on what's going on, because they've had so many problems in Austin. So I don't think the problems are any more in Austin than anywhere else. I think it's just that they're a lot more vigilant about the stupidity that's going on. And this one still in Texas, but it isn't necessarily this one's up in Dallas. So let's see what we got going on here today. Keep an eye on the lights. So we're going to watch this Waymo in action. Yeah, that was a red as hell light. Waymo hates red lights. What is up with the color red and just running through red lights, running through bus stops, running through everything? Waymo, what's your aversion to red? What is your major malfunction? I don't know. That's so just another little thing. It doesn't give a flying F. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly. It was driving like a Florida driver, Woo, let's go. I don't give two Fs. Let's just jump on the curb if we have to. Sorry, Florida drivers, but you know which ones I'm talking about. But yep, there we go. There was the Waymo stupidity of the week that we got everything. They're running from everything red. They're running at everything red and then running away. That's what the weird thing about it is. Waymo, you got anything on this one? Does anybody have anything plausible? And maybe we need to get some really tech person that can mansplain it for me about, why they have this color version. Is there something the cameras don't pick up with the red, or the LiDAR doesn't pick up with the red? Maybe that's something. Maybe it's on a color spectrum that they have a hard time seeing it or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, wondering what their problem is, because they ain't got it figured out. Colorblind. There it is. See? Awesome Amy figured it out. So I guess they do need the additional color, but they can still see the position of the color, Amy. So I'm still not giving them a pass on it. But see, Bubba Sue said the same thing. Andromeda strain. That's what Rick says. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't think we're going to solve this one tonight. I think we're going to continue to have Waymo issues and see what's going on with it. Meanwhile, if it's not bad enough with Waymo, they've now got competition for stupidity. So let's see here real quick. Twin Pines Studio says no idea, but this is why they want autonomous vehicles specific lights added to the intersections. Probably is because there's got to be something they're not disclosing about this. They want the blue lights. Well, they need red and blue lights on the damn things. No. Don't even think you're trying to get your emergency vehicle permits in the state of Texas, Waymo. You do enough stupid crap. We don't need to grant you that authority. That's for damn sure. So, Amy says, but it's a horizontal light. Maybe that's why it doesn't always recognize it. Well, okay. But there's horizontal, and that's a great point, Amy. Let's go back to this video real quick here, because that is, maybe we'll go back to the video here. So that's a great point. However, we have horizontal lights in Colorado in various locations. I've heard every excuse under the sun, by the way, about what the horizontal lights are for. And I'm going to get off track here for a second. Thank you, Amy. But there's horizontal lights everywhere, but why the hell do they put them in some places and not others is what I want to know. And I've heard stupid things, everything from, well, it helps with the load shifting and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't, because you're still putting the one pole in the middle of the whole thing. It's not distributing the weight. And it doesn't help with wind because you still have the same mass. So I don't know. But Waymos sure don't like those horizontal lights, but that's a great point. And I don't know, Waymo, you got anybody give us a technical explanation but still dumb it down for us? Red lights matter, Waymo, damn it. But anyways, I started to say is that Waymo has a little bit of competition in Texas by a company called AVRIDE. Now, we haven't talked about them on this podcast. I haven't heard, Steve and I haven't talked about them. I don't know if Steve's talked about AVRIDE. Maybe he has because of our next coming subject. But AVRIDE is another autonomous vehicle company, and they do much more than just robotaxis. But right now, they are running with their safety drivers in place. However, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration announced that they are investigating AVRIDE, which is an Austin, Texas-based company, by the way, and it's Uber's rideshare partner. So the thing with being Uber's rideshare partner, I could just order a regular Uber ride and might end up with this stupid thing. And, again, they have a safety driver, but these dumb things have been responsible for, let's see, how many accidents was it now? I want to make sure. Yep, I'm still correct in the 19 at-fault crashes. Not somebody else ran into them. That's 16 crashes in the Austin and Dallas market that were all related to executing lane changes into other vehicles and failing to avoid vehicles or objects in the roadway. So they're running over crap in the roadways. They're running over cars that are next to them and apparently in front. I don't know. There's 16 crashes with safety drivers. So if they have these safety drivers, what are you doing, safety drivers? You sure as you can't call you safety drivers. 16 crashes, Bubba Sue. Did I accidentally say 19? I hope I didn't. But anyway, most of the crashes were under 20 miles per hour. So, and that's another thing that we see really common with all the autonomous vehicles. The majority of the crashes, whether it's the Robotaxi, whether it's FSD mode with Tesla, whether it's these things, or Waymo running over children, they're all lower speeds. So again, you would think that they would perform better at lower speeds. So does the algorithm or whatever that makes the adjustments during it? So many questions. I got to start digging into this a little more technical and talking to see if somebody wants to talk to us with some intelligence. I know I mentioned a couple of researchers that were involved in these. Maybe someday I'll get big enough we can get one of them on the show to talk to us about some of this stuff, because things it doesn't add up. Besides, I don't know, it just doesn't add up. So there was apparently one minor injury. Holy crap, why did that word get so hard to say? one minor injury that apparently when the incident happened, they didn't say anything, and then later they reported the injury in one of the crashes. So, and apparently that was a passenger with it. So, again, if you're in the Dallas or Austin market and you order an Uber, be careful. You might get one of these careless things running around, and a safety driver having lunch or a nap or something while they're not doing their job. I mean, that's going to be the conclusion, is that these things aren't ready to go. None of them are. And that the safety drivers were figuratively and maybe literally asleep at the wheel. So, let's see what we got on the chat here. We had quite a bit of stuff. Awesome Amy says, some about Seams Cosmetic. Not sure what that one is, but so anyway, let's see. Math ain't math. Yeah. It's a bag of math. Let's see here. They can't drive for peanuts here in Denver. They always drive on the lines, cut off people, crashed into the Cheeseman Park barrier. Wait, one of them ran into the Cheeseman Park barrier? I need photos of that. And Daniel, you know how to get a hold of me. Send me some stuff on WhatsApp with some info on that one. I haven't seen anything about any crashes with their test drive. And they have Waymo has drivers in their cars doing their stuff in Denver. So it's really interesting that they're having all those problems, and they're only driving them in good weather, because we've had nothing but good weather. Tim, what's up, Gigwise Outdoors? How you doing, brother? So who knows? But yeah, AVRIDE, riders beware. Stay the hell away from those things. And they're just causing all kinds of problems with everything. And speaking of AVRIDE causing problems, let's move on to our next subject here.
A man in New Jersey said that he was the victim of a hit and run by a delivery robot. Yes, a robot. He said he was knocked off his bike, left with a bad injury. And News 4's Jackie Beckford is in Jersey City with some of that chaos caught on camera.
Delivery robots popping up in cities across the country are supposed to be accident-proof. But a Jersey City man says one ran into him, then tried to run away. A short video recorded by a witness shows the aftermath of the crash.
The last memory I had before I got knocked unconscious was, did I just run into a small tank? What was that?
Connor Shannon, seen sitting on the ground, the delivery robot, he says, rolled into his bike's path nearby after a witness pressed her leg against the robot to stop it from moving away.
Yeah, it was quite shocking.
The run-in happened last October on Varick Street as Shannon rode his bike down the bike path.
Kind of darted out right in front of me, and I ended up colliding with it.
The crash sent Shannon and his bike flying. He suffered a head injury and a broken collarbone. Shannon now plans to sue the company AVRIDE that made the robot and Uber, which runs the delivery program.
If you go on their website, they very much promote the fact that they can see obstacles, see humans, that they're programmed to stop, and that they should be able to stop quickly and avoid any obstacles.
But run-ins with delivery robots have been popping up across the country. Just yesterday, one of the machines collided with a vehicle in Philadelphia.
We know that there was, the robot that drove through the bus stop in Chicago made the news. We know that there's a case pending against this company, AVRIDE, in Texas. One of these ran over someone's cat at some point somewhere.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has now launched an investigation into the safety of the autonomous vehicles. AVRIDE told us they could not comment on the pending legal case. They say, quote, "We can affirm that our fleet is programmed to operate in strict accordance with traffic laws and safety regulations. We sincerely value the safety of the community. We have not heard back from Uber Eats." Last year, Jersey City became the first in the region to use the robots in a trial with Uber Eats. At the time, the company said the robots were being used in 11 cities and counting around the country. Residents say they're still getting used to them.
I try to avoid them. If they're coming this way, I go that way.
They're usually pretty responsive
responsive to the traffic lights and the directions, but I have seen close calls, especially with...
I have seen close calls. By the way, did y'all couple comments on this video, and hopefully y'all have some comments as well here, but did you hear that one of them even had an incident with a cat? Again, now what's up with these autonomous vehicles and your hate for cats? Look, I'm not the biggest cat fan in the world, but I'm not going to go run a cat over. I mean, some cats can be pretty cool sometimes, but what's up with the cat bias and all these autonomous pieces of equipment? Whether it's what are the robots gonna do whenever they start getting released into the wild and see a cat and see the YouTube videos freaking starting like crazy on that. So Gigwise Outdoors says, I don't pay attention to Waymo until Waymo starts doing catering orders. Well, they'll probably start doing that, Tim. And then they'll just rebrand. There you go, right there. They'll just make a bigger version of that little piece of garbage. And so don't like the color red or cats. Yes, that's what we're starting to get a list here. We're starting to understand these things a little bit better. So when they try and take us over, then we can just run around with red flashlights and cat suits, and they'll try and run at us, but then we can destroy them. So we'll need some cats and red lights to do the take back over of humanity once these things start taking over. So keep that in mind, people. Oh yeah, they hate kids too. Another good point, Amy. So children, we'll need children for the sacrifice list too, for whenever all this stuff takes over. That's a great point. So yeah, these things are a hot mess, but I'm going to tell you, that dude's attorney looks like he was straight out of Godfather. So I think he's ready to go make a mess of AVRIDE. Let's see what else we got. So if I get a red blanket, can I swing it around them like a bullfighter? Dude, I was thinking about if they had those where I was at. That's exactly a video I was going to make. Toro. Yeah, see, you get it, Tim. That's exactly it. That was exactly what I was thinking about doing. And I'm sorry, I'm probably, because the chat's a little bit slower than the live video that I get, so if I'm missing any stuff on there. But yeah, that's exactly a video I was thinking I want to do that video. And maybe now that I know where the Waymo's dock, that I can go do one. Them standing out there whenever they're leaving their docking station. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we got going on with these things. These things are a hot mess. Ooh, what if we taped red lights to both the Waymos and the... All right, now I'm starting to think about nefarious things to how to sabotage these things. This is not an endorsement to sabotage or destroy autonomous vehicles. There, does that disclaimer work? Maybe. Anyway, Cam Woodworking, what is up, Joe? How you doing, brother? Welcome in. You just missed the Waymo show, and then the new discussion about AVRIDE, but you can catch it on the replay. You didn't miss too much of the episode yet. But all right, let's see, what else do we have on the agenda? So while we're still talking about food delivery, have you guys seen this one? This was kind of an interesting one. It was about AI being used to fraud the delivery. So what they did, we'll bring up the photo on this one here real quick, is you can see the photo on the viewer's left. That's the actual piece of, looks like it's sesame chicken or something like that. And it's fine. But then they used AI, the picture on the right, to get a credit from DoorDash because they used AI to make it look like raw chicken. And they got refunded by DoorDash. Now, down below, you see where it says DoorDash says, oops, you shouldn't have blocked us. That was DoorDash's response to it. So they actually caught this person. The interesting thing is that DoorDash has a partnership with ChatGPT where you can use ChatGPT to integrate with your DoorDash. So you can order your DoorDash using ChatGPT now. So I guess DoorDash is finding there's both good and evil with AI. But I thought it was hilarious that DoorDash called them out and for doing that. Never did have anything, but this is a bunch of crap that they're doing that because the restaurant's the one that's going to eat that order. And the restaurants are already getting charged like 30% from DoorDash, and that's why some of why the prices are so high. But DoorDash still, taking 30% of it, and now the restaurant is probably going to have to eat that order, all because somebody was too lazy to pay a $30 order. If you can't pay a $30 order, don't order your frickin' food. I mean, that's the simple part of it. The other dangerous thing with AI, let's go on the other side of it, is I've seen posts on Reddit where a driver, it was a passenger, posted a photo where they got charged a $150 cleaning fee because the driver submitted that they vomited all over in their vehicle. And it was very, very clear from the pictures that it was AI. So I don't even see, again, you're using AI to verify AI, and all they're doing is just running through there and then charging them $150 for a fraudulent cleaning fee. And then it makes the good drivers look like freaking idiots. And, you lose trust and confidence in these apps that you don't need stuff like that to lose trust and confidence in them. There's plenty of shady stuff that goes on. But then you get the shady drivers and they make everybody look bad. And this is where AI is getting out of control. And they start, if you want to use AI for something, use AI to detect AI. And then start penalizing it, just IP banning, device banning, everything banning these frickin' people that are doing this crap. And legislators, if you're going to be doing, it is fraudulent, so you could probably still make some kind of a fraud case out of it anyway. But let's start making a lot heavier penalties whenever somebody commits fraud using AI. Let's make it a federal offense and let's make it a felony. And let's make them, do something that is not AI related. And just more hazards with things that are going on with AI. And that's what my thoughts are on that right now. Even though, yes, I use a little bit of AI, and there's even one coming up, a picture that, but I also disclose it too. And so I think it can be used for good purposes, but I think there needs to be disclosure with it and limited use of it. And so anyway, there we go. That's what we got going on in the whole crazy wide world of food delivery AI. What do you guys think on that one? Is that something that you're experiencing? Let's see here. Want to make sure we're catching all the chat here. DoorDash should be using it to figure out that it was created with AI. Yep, exactly, Tim. Just like I was saying. Glad you get that too. So, anyway, but again, I hope DoorDash did figure out who it was, and they should be able to and ban their account. But there wasn't anything I saw where they did ban them. But good for you, DoorDash, for calling them out and making everybody laugh a little bit too with it. So, all right. Now that we're having some fun, now we're going to move over to the dark side on something here. Is that this one comes out of Indianapolis. I don't know if any of you heard about it, but we keep having all this discussion is really coming to the light with fake accounts and so on and so forth. Fraudulent accounts. We'll just sum them all up as fraudulent accounts, because they could either be a fake account or a rented account, a stolen account, a bot account. There's a million different things with that, and we'll talk about that a little bit here tonight if I can remember to bring up the stuff on it. But if not, we'll save it for next week. But there's a big problem going on with this fraudulent account stuff, and this one, we'll let you guys be the judge of it. Was this because somebody was trying to let's look at this and see where all the problems are. There's so many damn problems with this next thing that I'm going to talk about. So first starts off with a lady that her 12-year-old son, his bus didn't arrive. That was what she reported. And so instead of her doing whatever she had to do to take him to school or to jump in an Uber and take him to school, she puts him in a Uber Teen account and sends him to his middle school. 12-year-old going to middle school in an Uber. Y'all have heard me bitch and moan about this. And Jenny Wilford, listen to this whenever I tell you it's a bad idea letting freaking minors in the car. And here's a perfect freaking example of it. Whether the situation, there was potential malice involved, or if it was just because of all the other circumstances we're going to talk about here. But this is why you don't let unaccompanied minors in a damn rideshare, period. Anyway, sorry I get boiling whenever we talk about this. So, mother of 12 in Indianapolis says, oh, little Johnny missed the bus, and I'm just going to throw him on Uber Teen, even though he's not qualified for Uber Teen. I think with Uber, their policy is 15 years old. I don't care because I don't do Uber Teen. And so Uber driver goes and picks him up, cruises on. Okay, here we go. About 11 minutes into the ride, according to the information we have, that the mother was notified the trip was canceled. Well, I'm sorry, parents, that trip got canceled. I'd be freaking out a little bit because, number one, I left my unaccompanied minor with a stranger. I'm a dumbass. That would be the first thing that came to my mind. And what kind of bad karma is coming to happen to me and my poor child because I was negligent to put my child in that Uber by themselves. So anyway, we got a lot going on in the chat, so I'm glad, because this obviously boils you guys' blood like it does mine. And let's keep going on with this. So anyway, she says, oh crap, the ride was canceled. So she goes and she has AirTags. Smart move. She has AirTags that she puts in his backpack or wherever, and she was tracking him, and he was going the complete opposite direction of the school. So now at this point you're wondering, is my kid getting kidnapped? So what does she do? What do y'all think she did? She FaceTimed the kid. Okay, well, all right, I'm going to still give her that one. I'd already been calling 911 at that point and completely losing my stuff. Oh, wait, no, I wouldn't, because this would never have happened with my kids. I would have never thrown them on a freaking Uber when they were that age. So anyway, so she goes and FaceTimes the kid, and then realizes the driver doesn't match the profile picture of the driver that was supposed to be driving him. You'd think so, Bubba Sue, that's what they would have done. But not yet. So she sees that the profile picture doesn't match. And then apparently her son repeatedly asked him why he's being taken the wrong direction. And was there a language barrier, or was he being ignored? There's allegations that there might have been a language barrier going on with this. So if there was a language barrier and the guy was getting lost, but why in the hell did he cancel the ride to begin with? That's the part that I don't care what happened. He should have never canceled that freaking ride, because even if he's the worst driver in the world, he could still eventually get there, maybe taking a whole bunch of wrong turns, but getting close with the GPS if he doesn't understand the difference between this and this with the arrows on the app. They're very descriptive. Sometimes they lag and they get a little slow. I get that. And maybe there was something where he took a wrong highway exit or something. Either way, there's so many damn things that went wrong with this. This is a perfect case study for this whole why we don't let minors on Ubers. Did you hear me, Jenny Wilford, Colorado state legislator, that just passed a stupid rideshare safety bill that includes letting young kids of any age have an authorized account? That's a bunch of crap. But anyway, continuing on with our story here. So she finally calls 911. And I don't know what ensued that the driver finally pulled over shortly after her calling 911. So I don't know if she was still FaceTiming, using another phone, or FaceTime with 911. Anyway, driver let the boy off and then took off. So now, according to what Uber said, Uber policy, here's our answer. I knew I had it, but I just want to make sure that I did have it. That riders utilizing teen accounts must be at least 13 years old. Well, he was 12. I know. It's like, oh, it's close enough. No, it's not close enough. 13 is too damn young. I think that's ridiculous as it is. And then, so the Indianapolis Police Department confirmed they're actively investigating this. That's where we were left with this whole thing, instead of putting a freaking, kidnapping bulletin out for this clown, and then looking at and tracking down who the account owner is and going to that address and making a visit. I don't know why it's taking so long to investigate this. I'm about ready to call. Maybe I'll call Indianapolis Police Department myself and ask them for an update on this and see what's going on, see if we can get them to respond. But the mom says, I've been crying since Wednesday because I felt like I could not protect my child. No, you couldn't protect your child, and it's your damn fault to begin with. And look, I know crazy, extraordinary things happen. You know what? If you can't get your kid to school, have a known, trusted person go with them to get them to school, or you go take them to school, or deal with the consequences of not sending them to school. If you can't do that on a regular basis, then homeschool your kid. There's plenty of options ever since COVID. So do better. Child Protective Services, y'all are idiots a lot of the time, but here's a good case. Maybe she needs to go through some parenting classes or something, because this is completely stuck on stupid. And I don't care who gets offended that I say that and say, well, you don't know, you've never walked in her shoes. No, I've never walked in her shoes, and I'd never walk in her shoes because I wouldn't do anything so stupid. So anyway, y'all got me ranting. Gigwise, Tim says he was driving at 13. I was driving at 14, man. So I know what you're talking about, but they get mad about that stuff now. And you're probably in a rural community, but anyway, Bubba Sue. I'm not going to read that chat, but that was a funny comment. So anyway, wrapping this up, guess what? We got Uber responding, of course, as they always do so well. Uber says, the company is alarmed by what's been described. Yeah, probably. But what are you alarmed about? I know you're not alarmed that you had a driver that didn't match the profile picture and a fraudulent account. I know you're not alarmed by that because you know it. And this has been going on for years. And it's been discussed for well over a year and documented that Steve's been tracking this for a long time. And he and Chris from the Rideshare Guy that did a video on it, and that was over a year ago. They've been talking about these things. So this is these stolen accounts, fraudulent accounts. The fraudulent accounts aren't new. So, all right, Uber. So you're not. So we agree you're not alarmed by what's been described from a fraudulent account. We can't imagine how terrifying this experience must have been, and are continuing to look into this report. Why the hell is everybody still looking into stuff? Why haven't you taken any action yet? The PD hasn't done crap. Uber hasn't done crap. But Uber says, we stand ready to assist the police with their investigation. How about, you're not assisting in the investigation. You're not qualified for this, Uber. We've seen you make plenty of dumb investigative mistakes. How about you just, when they request evidence, you give it to them. You don't investigate it. You don't assist with the investigation. You just give them the crap and get out of their way. Indianapolis, step up. Go make an arrest for somebody kidnapping this kid. That he canceled the ride and still drove with the kid until there was other interventions. That's kidnapping. So he canceled the ride. The kid was not authorized to be in that vehicle at that point, regardless of anything. Let's just take the whole age problem out of it. So Bubba Sue says, no action ever. We're looking into it. Boilerplate response. Absolutely. And so sneaking Tim was sneaking his mom's Pinto out at 13 years old, and didn't. You were talking about that on your live the other day when you're looking through. We're looking through cars. I don't remember what car it was that you're looking at. Maybe it was a Pinto, and we were mentioning about that. All I kept thinking of was a POD song. Here comes the boom. Ready or not, here comes the boom. Anyway. Okay, so fraudulent kidnappers are running around being Uber drivers. There you go, y'all. Let's go back to something a little bit fun now, because that was completely annoying. Got my blood boiling. So let's have a little bit of interesting fun here. Guys, watch this and comment. Tell me what your thoughts are on this. And this is kind of a long video as well, just like the other one. But actually, some of it's kind of like, okay, yeah, typical news report crap. But they bring up a couple kind of good points that I'm sitting there thinking of in my head. And I'm wondering, as you guys watch through this, what's going through on your head. And again, this is more state-of-the-art delivery, we're going to call it. And this is nothing new, but, everybody's talking about drone delivery. And this is a little bit different version of it that looks like a franchise owner is teaming up with a drone company and doing these delivers. So let's see what we got.
Call it a pie-in-the-sky idea. In this Texas suburb, pizzas from Little Caesars whiz by 200 feet high in a new way to deliver, touted as faster and cheaper.
To watch the drone come and deliver your pizza order, it's kind of like a little event.
We got a behind-the-scenes look at the launch pad. So if you order a pizza from the Little Caesars right around the corner, a Flytrex runner will pick it up for you, load it onto this drone, and then it's up in the air and off to your house in less than 5 minutes. Do you see this as the future that we're all going to be using for pizza delivery soon?
I would, yes, I would say so, absolutely. Well, especially when you can get your order delivered in 4.5 minutes. Now you're guaranteed freshness. It's still hot. Mm-hmm. When you open up that pizza, you still see steam coming out of it.
The pies are loaded up here onto this hook before flying to you. Little Caesars says there's no additional cost on ordering via drone. It's on par with normal delivery fees based on distance, and you don't need to tip a robot. What would be the potential downsides of this? Obviously, if it's raining, you can't get drone delivery, right?
As of right now.
As of right now.
Yes.
What other limitations should customers know about?
The only other limitations, again, is if you order more than 8.8 pounds, it'll get delivered to you, but it'll take 2 flights.
We had to check it out for ourselves. Oh, yeah.
There it is.
There's our pizza. It is so high in the air, higher than I thought. It traveled about half a mile to us in the air for about 3 minutes. That is super cool. So we ordered our pizza to the park here. Need to find the driver. It drops it right onto the grass from 200 feet in the air, and it still feels hot. And Little Caesars isn't the only company getting into drone delivery. In select markets, you can order groceries from Walmart to be delivered by drone. And Amazon launched Prime Air in 8 U.S. cities. As for Little Caesars, they say this experiment here in Wiley is just a slice of things to come. Still hot, in perfect condition.
Ryan Chandler, great story there. We have so many questions.
So hot in perfect condition. Yeah. Cardboard. Love that soggy cardboard taste that you get from pizza boxes. I want somebody to use some damn technology and get rid of those stupid cardboard tasting pizza. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Can't you fix that? We have all this damn technology. We just went and saw the backside of the moon. Unless you're a flat earther or whatever. I don't want to have that discussion tonight. But, you can't make pizza taste better and be more fresh tasting other than throwing it on a damn drone. So what do you think about that? I mean, they're talking about cheaper and faster and you don't have to tip a drone. So, wow, they're doing the best they can to already take jobs away. And they do mention that. The video went on a little bit longer, but I figured that's just, whatever. Bubba Sue says that's not pizza anyway. Man, I don't know what it is about Little Caesars pizza, but every 4 to 6 months, I just I gotta have one of those awful pizzas, and I don't know what it is. It's something about it but yeah, it doesn't qualify as pizza. They should call it, I don't know, what would you call it then, Bubba Sue? If you don't call it pizza, I mean, and being serious, what would you call it? And I get it's not really pizza because it's I don't know. There's so many different styles of pizza. It's still pizza. It's just not, it goes through it's kind of like one of those Burger King broiler conveyor belt things. So, it's not even done in a real pizza oven, so that I can agree with. That should be a qualifier whether it's pizza or not. Whether it's Chicago deep dish, which is one of my occasional favorites I haven't had for a long time. They supposedly have a place down here in Colorado Springs. We're gonna have to say it to try it out. But then there's tavern style Chicago, then there's bar pizza, then there's Connecticut style, then there's New York style, then there's so many different styles of pizza. And I'm not Dave Portnoy, the Barstool pizza review guy, so I'm not even gonna begin to try and say that. Yeah, Sue, you're definitely within the in the region of the pizza mecca. So but gonna tell you, I still like a Chicago deep dish once in a while. But yeah, the crust though on that New York style pizza, that crisp and then that chewy bite you get on that crust, I gotta agree with you. But this isn't pizza talk, but apparently it is. Gigwise says, Tim says, dude says you don't have to tip a drone. Little Caesar orders already don't tip. Oh yeah, for delivery drive. You're wrong. You're not wrong, Tim. That's exactly it. They end up in the $2 DoorDash gates of hell, sitting there waiting. But that was a great point I didn't even think of. I love that. So anyway, nothing better than a New York pie, says Awesome Amy. I'm telling you, yeah, have either one of you had a Chicago deep dish pizza from Lou Molinati's in Chicago? If you say yes, then I'll let you stand by. There's nothing better. And I've had pizza all over this damn country, but I'll tell you, I couldn't eat the Chicago style deep dish pizza all the time. There's so much cheese, it's so damn thick, and it could be a hot mess if you had to eat that stuff every day. I'm not gonna lie. So every day and I love pizza. It's on my tacos, pizza, almost anything Mexican food, but great choices. So let's see. Only from Uno's, too much sauce, not a fan. See, Uno's is awful pizza. That's like, no. But yeah, Uno's just as, and yeah, see, that doesn't count anyway, but yeah, there is a lot of sauce on the Chicago style deep dish, but Uno's is not good pizza. I mean, that's just awful to begin with. There's something that's, I think Little Caesars is more like pizza than Uno's. But all right, I guess we're gonna have to start our own little pizza talk. Maybe we should do pizza review, because could do a pizza review. Start with gas station pizza. So food you eat while you're out doing gig work. Maybe start sliding in some crappy food reviews. We're not doing gas station hot dogs, so had enough bad experiences with those in my lifetime. I am not doing those, but maybe we start doing something like that. All right, I severely digress from gig work here. Thanks, y'all. So let's move into our next little episode. Well, now what do we got? Now, Tim, I've never had St. Louis style. That one's new to me. So that one I'm gonna have to look up and see what we got going on with that. But moving back but forward, so we were talking about fraudulent accounts. Steve and I were talking about fraudulent accounts before our Thursday episode, and we're talking about a lot about different things with fraudulent accounts. And I went and did a Google search on something. I can't remember what the query was, and I found a new report. And this one's kind of interesting because it covers more than fraud, but we're just going to cover a lot of the different fraud stuff with this. And I'm going to see if I can add a slide in here real quick. But this was done by TransUnion, and which one of the credit reporting agencies, and then of course they do a lot of the fraud detection stuff and things. Steve says, oh man, we're still back in pizza talk here. I'm going to bring this up and we'll continue our pizza talk. But yeah, Bubba Sue, I want to know what the St. Louis style is also. Detroit style, that's pretty good if I want to, if I want a bunch of bread with and that's Little Caesars. It's in between Detroit style, but and I like Detroit style once in a while, but there's a lot of bread there. So anyway, let's see if we can bring up one of these images that I forgot to load earlier, and see if we have those in here. But this TransUnion report, based on what Steve and I were talking about, was pretty interesting. And it doesn't matter because you can't really see the graphics very well anyway. So this first one starts off by people that were defrauded as gig workers. And they say that 2/3 the earners on the gig platforms that had incidents with their accounts being either abused or they experienced fraud of some sort. And of course, we know, that could be all kinds of different scams on there. And we've heard about all of those. So we're not going to dive into those. But it was pretty interesting that 2/3 of the people say that they did have incidents. Now, it doesn't mean that the incidents were successful. So I've had attempts myself within the last year, so I would fall into that category. But the interesting thing is, it says 1/4 of the respondents expressed desire to stop gig work afterwards, and only about 70% of that 2/3 of the people, only 70% actually did anything to report it. So that tells me that there's a trust and confidence issue. In fact, I had an issue, and it wasn't due to fraud, but because I had got a new phone and there was some weird authentication stuff that was going on. And so it was, sorry, I had some weird noise in the background here for a second. But 49% reported to local law enforcement. I don't know what they got going on that they reported to law enforcement, because likely nothing's going to be done from that standpoint anyway, because most of the fraud that goes on is from somebody doing other nefarious stuff. And 35% of the people stopped doing gig work for a time, and then they went back to it. And then 25% of those people wanted to quit doing gig work or stop doing gig work, but they needed the money. So I think that number is probably higher than that. But so it's kind of interesting that this is actually being tracked by TransUnion. I'm not sure who the total number of people that they surveyed were, and who their demographic was, because some of these numbers are alarmingly high. So let's move over. They also talk about safety expectations and a whole lot of other things, but let's move on to our next little category here. Give me a second to load this slide, since I didn't load it before. This is the one that was prompted whenever Steve and I were talking, and this one is really alarming, guys. Some of the information on here. This is about renting and selling accounts. Now, this is based on the people that they conducted the survey with. Now, it wasn't necessarily specifically TransUnion. I'm sure they had a third party that did the interviews with it. But so this is more about the gig workers that are involved with renting and selling accounts. So they had 45% said that they've either rented or sold at least one of their gig work accounts. 45%, guys. So 25% said they rented it, 20% said they sold it. And then they have, then they went in, it's like, well, 19% of the people said that they're aware that others have rented the accounts, but my favorite statistic is 28% said they didn't know this was something people did. And that's just of the people surveyed. So 28%. And to me, it would be like, if you're doing this work, it was kind of common knowledge. I was really surprised that they had 28% of the people responded. But 45% have either rented and or sold their accounts. So this is a whole different problem. Steve and them have talked a lot about, the other side of it, the dark side of it, involving organized crime and them selling the accounts, and then sometimes, excuse me, a whole lot of other bad things happening with that, and sometimes not even getting paid or getting paid a little. But these are people that probably are, just trying to figure out another way to gather some income. And this just tells you how broken the system is, guys, when you have that many people that are doing it. So let's see, let's go over to the chat here because we got a lot going on. I'm going to move on from the pizza comments, but Tim, thank you for describing what the St. Louis style pizza is. And then okay, now we're going to have to start a pizza podcast, I guess, here. So, all right. So they're called clown that participate in any fraudulent activity. Yeah, I would agree with you, Steve. Steve's candy coating things, Amy. She says, tell us how you really feel, Steve. So this is just more and more problems that are out there. Steve, I know you had your episode with Sergio. If you guys didn't see that, go check it out from his episode on Monday. Really good episode. Sergio's done some stuff. There's a whole lot of people that are really, it's finally starting to come to light with all of us talking about it. And then we'll eventually have to, finally find something else to talk about. No, this is, as long as there's going to be gig work, there's going to be people that are trying to take the easy route. I mean, as long as there's humans, there's going to be people trying to take the easy route. Some people are just freaking lazy. And some people have mental health issues and think that, their sole mission in life is to fraud others. But Steve says, wait until they get caught and owe the IRS endless money. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing is so how do they figure out what they're going to do about that with renting their account, especially if they only do one account and then they have other accounts? Yeah, I'm not an expert in that type of fraud, so I'm not sure how much. I'd be curious, Steve, to know how much on the dollar. We got to find somebody that we can interview that has used a fraudulent account. We need to scrape up some money and pay somebody to interview and show us how much money that they're getting actually on this. We need to look at that side of it, Steve. We know what's going on, but are these guys getting 10 cents, 20 cents, a quarter on the dollar? I mean, I can't imagine them getting more than 50 cents on the dollar for this type of activity. And I'm sure, like anything else, it's whatever the market bears. But that would be a really interesting thing to see if we can find. We got to be able to find somebody. So let's see, waiting for these clowns get arrested, fined, and jailed. Yeah, then they'll go back out and they'll reopen their accounts. And because this is obviously a little lucrative business. And, until they can chop off the heads of the little people, and then Uber and DoorDash and everybody else is going to get butthurt because then they're not going to have anybody to take the $2 order, no tip orders, and take the 50, 60 cent a mile rideshare rides. And again, like I've said, they don't want that market to stop. So we're going to have to start getting legislators and other people that have a bigger vested interest in stopping this type of stuff to do it. I mean, hopefully the DOJ would finally stop up and, say, oh, wait, we can kill two birds with one stone by addressing this problem. And yeah, I'm talking about illegal immigration. I'm a complete advocate for legal immigration and even migrant workers. I've been in a capacity where we've hired migrant workers, but we did it legally. So it's not and they'll do work that a lot of lazy Americans won't do. So I think there's definitely a place for that. But again, pay the taxes. And the beautiful thing is that most of them don't care. They'll pay the taxes, this and that, and they pay into Social Security, and then they go back to their country and they never use it. So it's a way to fund Social Security, but it's got to be done the right way. So, but get rid of all the illegal accounts and everything else, then you're going to take care of part of your illegal immigration problems too. So DOJ, you want to do something that's going to help the world overall? Start tackling this problem. But what do I know? Not too much, apparently. All right, let's see here. Yep, 3-letter agencies need to get involved. Absolutely. Steve says the IRS does not allow non-payment. If the IRS does not get paid on fraud accounts, the companies will owe and need to settle up with the IRS or shut down operations, no question. I think that'd be a great place to start. Is start with all the companies, Steve, because all the other people, they're going to duck and dodge, and they're going to run away from this. It's going to be really difficult, to get the guys that are buying and selling these accounts. That's a minimal impact on this, and even a lot of the people that are probably brokering, doing the selling of these accounts, they're like low-level drug dealers. They're not really, the important people that you want to get to. And so you start getting rid of this, and you'll start getting rid of also some of the additional bigger problems, like drug dealing. It's a great way to launder money, probably. There's a whole lot of different things, and it's a way to generate revenue whenever, you get your fentanyl distribution cut off in the U.S. You can figure out other ways to generate money with organized crime, and that's one of these big things that's going on with this. So this would take care of a whole lot of. It would begin to chip away at these problems. I mean, there's a lot of diversification in organized crime that a lot of people don't recognize. They just think, oh, they're just all selling drugs, or they're all doing this. No. A well-organized crime faction is diversified in their business operations, and this is one of the things that they're doing. So anyway, that's kind of just a little bit of the tidbit on that gig report and a lot of the fraud that's going on with it. And Steve says the companies know about these accounts, and the IRS knows they know. IRS will be paid, no question. Yeah, I just hope they start hitting some of these companies. But the problem is the consumer and the legitimate workers are gonna be the ones that pay for it. All the gig workers and the people that are using the services, the consumers, are going to be the ones that pay for it, because they don't want their stocks to go down over something like that. They will temporarily once an announcement's made, but they'll bring them back up because they'll just start charging people more to make up for it. So we as consumers, one direction or another, are going to pay for this crap that's being allowed and going on. So don't know if we'll see about this one. I'm not sure I'm going to go to this one because we're going to get back into pizza talk. So let's move on to another. Do we want pizza talk or Uber ambulance? Now we're going to Uber ambulance, guys. How about that? Look at that. There we go. Anybody experienced this, or anybody had anything go on with somebody trying to use you as an Uber for an ambulance? Well, so this has been an issue that's been discussed for quite a long time. Let's see, the May 19th, 2019, there was an article that was done by a Detroit news channel. There you go, Steve. Good old Detroit. But this goes back before COVID even, that, it's been a problem. that all of a sudden people are like, oh, it's cheaper to use Uber. It's, blah, blah, blah. It's this, it's that. Well, yesterday I had a ride. I picked these two people up. And the second I picked them up, and they got in my car, I decided I was going to end up blocking them anyway, because there was an odor I don't even know how to describe. That wasn't body odor. It wasn't weed. I don't know what it was. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. That there was two people, and the gal was very, very, very pregnant. And he was on the phone talking to somebody on freaking speakerphone. So strike two, I'm blocking you. I don't mind people being on the phone, but take it off speakerphone. I don't want to hear both sides of the I don't want to hear one side of the conversation, but you know what? I don't have a problem with that. If you want to be on the phone whenever I'm giving you a ride, you're not paying for the ride to entertain me. So I'm fine with that. If you want to be on the phone, try not to be too loud, whatever. But some people are just inherently loud on the phone. And so that is what it is. I deal with that. But don't be on the damn speakerphone. But he's on the speakerphone. He's like, oh, yeah, so-and-so, she's we don't know what we're going to do whenever, when she has to go to the hospital to have the baby. Bubba Sue, she hates speakerphone. I do too. When we had the baby, because neither of us drive, and he's like, I guess we'll just use an Uber like we're doing now. I'm just sitting here listening to this, saying my UMFs, to thinking, I'm an Uber ambulance. No, I'm not. Nobody that does this are not Uber ambulance. They're not qualified to deal with any medical situations that can happen. And believe me, a whole lot can go wrong when somebody's having a child. Do the majority of the times they go right? Yep, absolutely. But when they go wrong, you definitely want a freaking ambulance or qualified person if you're in active labor. So anyway, they're just having this conversation, and then she chimes in and she's like, oh yeah, the Uber will get her quicker than the ambulance anyway. Well, that's a stupid, horrible misconception. And she said it like she truly believed it. And and then there was a comment about, well, it'll be cheaper than the ambulance ride anyway. I have a feeling they weren't paying any bills anyway. So call me judgmental, whatever. I don't care, because I bet I'm right. I'll bet I am right. But so that was their whole notion. They're just going to go take an Uber to go, have their baby. And yeah, Bubba Sue, if you're actually paying your bills, Uber would be much, much cheaper than an ambulance ride. But if things go south, that they're going to wish they had that expensive Uber ride. And they were probably, Uber ride wise, they were 15 minutes from the closest hospital. So they're kind of on the outer edge of the Springs. But the fire station was, a few minutes away. They were, a couple miles away from them. So it's not like they were going to have to wait forever for an ambulance. And in Colorado Springs, the AMR has a contract to do all the ambulance service. Now, the jurisdiction that they're in, that they do have an ambulance there and available. The reason I know so much about it is it's the same fire district that I'm in, and the firehouse isn't far from me, but it's probably closer to them. No, I guess it wouldn't be. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point is, the fire department would have got there quick enough. They were near a major area where the ambulance service is always hanging out. And so it's just another another excuse, and people taking unnecessary risks like this kid ain't even born yet and they're already trying to take unnecessary Uber risks with it. So I feel sorry for that kid. It's got a rough freaking life ahead of him. So anyway, that's what we got going on this week, guys. We're going to I'm going to save the 1-star pizza delivery for next time, at the risk of not getting back into pizza talk with Shawn. Anyway, guys, episode 16 is all done. I appreciate every single one of you that have come in and joined in on the chat. Those of you who didn't join in the chat, thank you still for coming in. But we're done with episode 16. We will see you next week for episode 17. We're getting close to 21. Remember, send me those questions. And I'm on Instagram also. X is a great place to get a hold of me if you guys are on there. And send me your questions for Steve for Rideshare Rodeo for episode 21. Guys, be safe. If you can't be safe, have fun. No, do both. Good night, y'all.